Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. Today we will discuss about foreign envoys' visit to Kashmir. Against the backdrop of Pakistan's continuous efforts to spread lies about the situation in Kashmir, envoys of 24 foreign countries have seen firsthand the conditions in the valley. The envoys who reached Srinagar yesterday have interacted with a cross-section of the civil society and got briefing from the officials of the security establishment about the prevailing situation. How significant is this visit? We'll discuss in this agenda today. We have with us former diplomat Ambassador Deepak Vora, advocate Ankur Sharma, who is the chairman of IGJUT Jammu organization, and Mir Khubeb, who represents Youth Kashmir. But before we begin our conversation, let's have a look at this small report.
Envoys of 24 foreign countries go to see firsthand how normal the situation in Kashmir is as they visited the valley 18 months after revocation of Article 370. The envoys representing countries from Europe, Asia, Africa and Latin America directly heard voices from across cross-section of civil society about the situation on the ground. They interacted with members of the district development councils who were elected 2 months back in the first ever elections to such local bodies. The elected representatives told the foreign diplomats about how the elections were conducted peacefully with large participation of people despite threats from Pakistan-sponsored terrorists. They also visited the Hazratbal Mosque, which is one of the most revered shrines of Kashmir. The visit assumes immense importance considering the fact that Pakistan has been making desperate attempts to spread falsehood around the world about the situation in Kashmir. Pakistan has been trying to mislead the world by spreading various kinds of canards. Against that background, the first-hand experience that the envoys got and the interactions they had will go a long way in countering Pakistani propaganda. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Ambassador Vora, Mir Khubeb and Ankur Sharma to the program. Welcome to all of you. I'll first go to Ambassador Deepak Vora about the visit of the envoys to Kashmir, or rather J&K. How do you see that? How significant is this visit?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. Always a pleasure to be on the show, to learn from you and from Mir Sahab and Mr. Sharma, who are also on the panel. First question, why did we send them there? This is a question that everybody asks, and all kinds of allegations are made. This is a curated visit, you don't give them freedom.
My question is, did we send them or it was organized by us?
May I just come to conclude that, sir?
Yeah.
Ancient India, with our kingdoms and dynasties, we have a very long tradition of diplomacy. The oldest treatise on statecraft and diplomacy, Arthashastra, you've heard about it, sir, by a fellow called Kautilya, also known as Chanakya. He was, as you know, the principal advisor of Chandragupta Maurya. Now, the Arthashastra has a theory of diplomacy, of how the wise king builds alliances to checkmate his adversaries. He recommends that the king should be an important guest so that they trust him. He should allow them to travel freely within his kingdom so they develop respect and friendship. Ye jo hum kar rahe hain, it's exactly that. Why did we take the foreign ambassadors, or why did they ask to go to Kashmir? What do we hope to show them? Why is it important for us? Sir, in our globalized world, most countries send highly competent professional ambassadors to see the truth and report it to their headquarters. As your ambassador to Sudan for 5 years, I visited conflict-ridden Darfur several times. There had been allegations of ethnic cleansing and genocide. I reported what I saw to my government. South Sudan, I traveled to conflict zone. Armenia, they arranged for us to go to the disputed area of Nagorno-Karabakh. Sir, the Hollywood image of a diplomat is someone who attends swanky parties with top-level officials. And most people think that cocktail parties and dinners, fancy cars and beautiful homes are what diplomacy is all about. No, sir. to work to protect our home country citizens, repair relationships, and create lasting bonds. And the biggest thing is when we are permitted to travel freely, see what we want. So you've heard the term soft power, hearts and minds diplomacy as defined by Joseph Nye. This is the cultivation of relationships, respect, or even admiration from others, as opposed to the Chinese approach, which is very coercive. So a country's soft power grows when its political values are open and legitimate and they have moral authority. And our open soft power is what foreign visitors realize after visiting Kashmir. We have never had anything to hide. The two previous groups went last year, sir. I spoke to many of them.
Right.
They came back with a fresh perspective. They said, we have seen what the reality is. We will not succumb to propaganda. We will make up our minds free of pressure and prejudgment. Sir, could be asked for, because you have seen after the visit of the two groups last year, their home countries changed their minds and their public pronouncements on Kashmir. I believe that was a great success for our outreach, sir.
So I may ask, why now? What is to be achieved right now? Now, if we talk about Article 370 was scrapped 1.5 years back. So why now?
Sure. So because we want to show them that normalcy has returned. It was nobody's claim that Article 370 was removed and everything was perfectly normal the next morning. It takes time. It takes time in any country. We've seen what happened in the United States on the 6th and 7th of last month, January. If anybody were to say everything is normal in the United States today, that's not true. It's our job. We are highly trained professionals to see what is happening and to report that the process of normalization of normalcy is advanced.
Right.
Why on this particular day we have to look for the convenience of 24 people? It's not easy. Somebody has a marriage or a wedding or a birthday or a reception or something else. We have to try and see if they can all get together.
Sure. So we have a young voice from Kashmir, Mir Khubeb. So I will ask him about the timing of this visit and how important is it being seen from Kashmir. Mir.
Look, I would like to say the visit of the foreign ambassadors was a welcome step, and each and every Kashmiri welcomed this step. As we can say, the traffic were on the roads. Normally, the shops were open. And the another thing, people hosted the tricolor at the Gupta Road and decorated the whole road that got the way towards the SKCC, where the foreign ambassadors met with the locals and some DDC chairpersons as well. And I think the fourth visit after the abrogation, and they saw the normalization in the valley, and this is the important step that the world should know the current situation in the valley. The valley is a peaceful right now, so that the tourist attraction came towards the valley.
Okay, Mir, as ambassador said that it takes time for the situation to normalize. If we talk about Article 370 abrogation, so it is now 1.5 years now. How much has the situation normalized?
Yeah, I would like to say the situation in the valley after the abrogation is totally normal. We can see after this COVID pandemic, the schools are now open, the shops and business establishments are regularly open. The tourists came and in this winter after pandemic in a huge rush, as well as the Bollywood industry, people from Bollywood industry, they came here for different shoots. It simply shows the normal situation in the valley. And it is enough to understand the situation in Kashmir is totally normal and peaceful.
But you are from Kashmir and you are saying situation is normal. We keep hearing Pakistani rant every day that people are being killed and massacred in Kashmir. So what will you say?
They have to propagate such things that situation in Kashmir is not normal. The killings are happening. And if we can see the yesterday's killing, that they attack on this sweet shop.
Daba,
This is such attack on the humanity. And if the innocent killing is happening in the valley, that is from their side. they have to propagate that value is not a normal. But as a Kashmiri, I live I always stand on the ground, and I saw that situation after abrogation is totally normal. The schools are open now after this pandemic. The business establishments are open, and people can move from one place to another in an easy manner.
Ambassador Vora, you heard the actual voice from Kashmir and a young voice.
And a very good voice.
But Pakistan keeps ranting and telling the world that there are human rights abuses and people are massacred in Kashmir and all that. What will you say on that?
And you know what the Americans have just said about Pakistan's Gurudev, China's human rights record as far as the Muslims of Uyghur are concerned, and so of Xinjiang, the Uyghur Muslims are concerned. Nobody takes Pakistan seriously anymore. It has got nuisance value. That is all there is. So let me recall for you and for the millions of people who watch your program something very, very interesting that I heard at the height of the Khalistan terrorism movement in Punjab. This was in the 90s. Now, our friends from across the border, they paraded some Punjabi women, said they were from the Punjab, who had allegedly been tortured by our security forces. One woman waxed eloquent about the atrocities she had suffered, Mir Saab, a rather skeptical journalist, and said, Bibi, आपके गांव का नाम क्या है जहां पे आप कहते हैं you were harassed and tortured by the Indian security? She then first looked at her handlers, her Pakistani handlers, they were quiet. Then, in her eureka moment, she blurted out, "Oh ji, itna torture kiya कि मैं गांव का नाम भूल गई." Now that was the end of this charade.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Pakistanis, it's a nation that has no money. They are starved. They are starving. They have no credibility left in the world. They are wasting their money on this, and I think we should ignore them, sir. People like this are best consigned to the dustbin of oblivion. Along with their Gurudev China, they are both going to be exposed, sir. It's only a matter of time, and I believe it's going to happen in 2021. The world knows the truth about Kashmir. The world knows the truth about Xinjiang. The world knows the truth about Balochistan.
Okay, Mir, I'll come to you. As you heard Ambassador Vora, like nobody takes Pakistan seriously. Now I feel Pakistan is not being taken seriously even in Kashmir, because Hurriyat, their proxies gave a call for Band on the occasion of the visit, but apparently there was no impact on the ground. People went around with their daily chores and did their all job. What do you say?
Yeah,
Sir, Pakistan is not taken seriously even in Pakistan.
No one in Kashmir is taking Pakistan seriously. Even the Hurriyat people, they are silent after the abrogation. Don't know what happened before that. They were giving the hartal calls day by day. And right now, after this abrogation of 370, the situation is normal. Not even they gave a hartal call after abrogation. And if we saw yesterday some social media platforms that they were propagating that we should shut down on this day when the European Union is visiting the valley. But people totally rejected their propaganda, and they were busy in their day-to-day activities. So this clearly shows that in Kashmir Valley, no one is taking Pakistan seriously.
But why so? Why is Pakistan not being taken seriously now? Because earlier there used to be.
We can say this is the rise of nationalism in the valley.
So is that Pakistan has been exposed about its lies and misinformation?
The Pakistan is exposed now. I saw that this is the start of nationalism in the valley. The nationalist voices, they were not getting the platform before this abrogation of 370. And after abrogation of 370, we can see the young new nationalist leadership is coming out, and they are and people are happy with that thing, and people are engaging themselves with this new young leadership.
Why is that now this young leadership is able to come up? You are a young leader yourself. So what has changed? Please explain to our viewers.
I would like to say that before this, that old political dynasty, I say, they were not giving chance to the new leaders. This is the impact of dynasty politics. They were not giving chance and platform to some youth leaders. Maybe they were afraid of their fear, we can say. And after the abrogation, this clearly shows it is in front of the people that young leadership that is coming out with that nationalism thought. They are continuously meeting the people and connecting grievances and solving them through the concerned department. This is the happy thing that Kashmir is witnessing nowadays.
So I'll go to Ambassador Vora. Ambassador Vora, you heard about nationalists, as you heard the young voice from Kashmir. He says that nationalism is now is flourishing after this dynasty politics apparently ended. What do you say on this?
Mr. Kaul, you know the situation much better than I do. You're a very experienced journalist, and it's always a privilege to learn from you. You know about Kashmir. Sir, it's been 30 years, over 30 years that we've had this trouble. What have the Kashmiris, and I use that word very carefully, the Kashmiris who thought that they would bring about change of regime, if I may use that word, what have we achieved?
Right.
They have lost a generation, schools were closed, the economy tanked. What did they gain by even listening to those senile old fools from across the border who promised them Jannat and 20 or whatever 69 virgins if they decided to become jihadis and become ghazis and whatever? Nothing. They realized that this is the real world, sir. This is not a fantasy world. And they have to live in the world of here and now. I believe, sir, that is realization is now coming in. Remember, sir, that our economy, our world today is an attention economy. The glut of information has generated intense competition for people's attention. The fact that we are on your channel, there are so many channels in India across the world competing for my attention and your attention. What information consumes is rather obvious. Information consumes the attention of its recipient. Now there is Kashmir fatigue around the world. I have traveled extensively in the Chinese virus year 2020 to several countries. And when you raise the issue of Kashmir, say, could I tell you about Kashmir? They kind of say, okay, yeah, bol do yaar, but jaldi karo, finish it in 30 seconds. We know everything is going back to normal. Now, this is despite all the money that those fools across the border are spending. So I believe that the realization comes, and let me conclude by saying, sir, on India's national anthem, and this is for our young friend from Kashmir also, below it, there is the motto from the Mundaka Upanishad, Satyamev Jayate Sa. Ultimately, truth triumphs. You don't have to spend money to bring the truth out. The truth has come out itself about Kashmir.
Right. We have a voice from Jammu, Ankur Sharma. So I'll ask him. Ankur, if you heard Mir Khubeya from Kashmir, he says that nationalism is flourishing in Kashmir now after Article 370, after the demise of dynasty politics. What do you say on that?
No, yes, post abrogation of 370 and 35A, the hegemony that has been created using these constitutional provisions, that has taken a back seat. That's absolutely true. As far as separatism is concerned, I really do not think that sufficient has been done to contest that. Because on the front of handling or contesting separatism, the government of India, the Union of India was required to do certain things, which is, it has probably stopped by the abrogation of Article 370, satisfied with the abrogation of 370-35A only. But yes, now the elements who were planning separatism from the political point of view saying they have been tamed. As far as bringing in nationalism to Kashmir is concerned, that is still an uphill task because that's an unfortunate reality because the people living in Kashmir, the Kashmir zone, the Kashmir division, and I'm not talking about Ladakh or Jammu province. Jammu has 10 districts. Ladakh has 2 districts. The people of Kashmir they are seeking the pre-2019, August 2019 status, the restoration. In fact, some of them have also moved the Supreme Court also. I think that also needs contestation. As far as the visit of foreign envoys is concerned, this is again an exercise to show it to the world that democracy is being restored in J&K. Because recently concluded, this visit has again been planned after the recently concluded District Development Council election, which is an election to the 3rd tier of the Panchayati Raj institution.
Right.
Prior to this, we conducted what is called as elections to the block development councils. I can tell you that in the last 70 years, block development councils and district development councils, which means that the second tier and the third tier of the institutions of local self-governance, they have been constituted for the first time.
Right.
Prior to this, they would not even conduct elections to the post of panchayat some 3 or 4 times, and that too they could not serve the entire period. They had conducted elections to the post of sarpanches and panchayat type institutions. So I think this is happening for the first time. Government of India should market this thing to the world that we are restoring democracy. Yes, it is another thing that elections to the state UT assembly, they have not been declared. The delimitation process is also underway. We understand those things. But then I think it is an attempt to contest the misinformation that probably the Kashmir-based religious fascist establishment tries to spread across the world. And it is a step in the right direction. I read the list today. I was in High Court, and these envoys also came to the High Court. They met the Honorable Chief Justice of J&K High Court, Pankaj Mittalji. I think the proper information will now go to the world also. Pakistan is also spreading canard in cahoots with. So I think it's a step ahead in contesting all those narratives which are false.
Okay, Ambassador Vora, I'll come to you. Then there is about issue one. Some people are asking if, we always say that, it's our internal matter. Whatever happens in J&K is our internal matter. So why to, bring the envoys from other countries to show what is happening in our own country? What do you say?
So there are many international organizations where this issue can be raised. The United Nations is not the only one. There's the Human Rights Commission, etc. And in the past, we've had some difficulty putting across our point of view. But the situation was different then. Now, when it has stabilized, it has normalized, when Kashmir's nightmare, if I may use that term, is over, we've never had anything to hide even in the past. But then the foreigners were afraid to come. There were abductions in the 80s and 90s and in the early 2000s. Right. Some people were killed and so on. Now they're all willing to go there. They want to go to paradise. And look at the picture behind me, sir. It's a virtual image. It's one of the girls, one of our daughters-in-law from my family. She's a Kashmiri enjoying herself on a shikara. What are we talking about, sir? This is the real India, the democratic, vibrant India. And as was earlier pointed out by Sharma Saab, some parties and individuals developed a vested interest in the continuing instability. We threw money at the problem, we threw money at them, it didn't help. Now with a very, very careful, calibrated approach, yes, financial package plus the security option, we have cleared the mess. We have thrown, may I just say, sir, it's strong language, forgive me, we have thrown the garbage into the dustbin. And now it's young people like Mir Saab, there are others after the recent elections here, they are coming forward. They do not want to follow in the footsteps of those who arrogated to themselves the right to speak for Kashmir. One final question, sir, that I have, if you permit, Mr. Kaul. It's your program. It's called The Agenda. Your agenda is, of course, brilliant, but it's the agenda of these other fellows. Ask anybody in his right mind. Had to make a choice between living in one of two countries. One, the third largest economy in the world, free, open, democratic, the third most powerful military in the world. And the other, an almost failed state where killings and murders take place every day. Not even failed state, a phantom state. What will be your choice?
Right.
Sir, there are 7.8 billion people on our planet. Let me give another analogy. Leave out the 300 million who live in the United States. Ask the other 7.5 billion. If you had to choose between living in China or living in the United States, what would be your answer? It's very clear, sir. So the human spirit wants freedom. The human spirit wants dignity, and no one can destroy it.
We have limited time left now, but I will ask you, since you have been ambassador to Sudan, Syria, etc., you have said. Tell our viewers what do the people or governments there see about Kashmir when Pakistan rants about Kashmir?
Many of them, I would say most of them, the overwhelming majority of people of diplomats, officials, ministers, politicians, public opinion makers in the countries where I've had the privilege of serving as your ambassador in 6 countries. They would ask us about Kashmir and they would say, well, I read this or I saw this on BBC or CNN or AFP. Well, this is the reality. Sir, the trust quotient in India's favor is very, very high. Whatever little trust Pakistan enjoyed in the world after Kargil in 1999, that has disappeared. When the only hyperpower in the world at that point of time, the United States, led by a fellow called Billu Bhai Clinton, Bill Clinton as we call him, turned around and told the Pakistanis, you are lying. When he says that, the world takes notice.
Right.
So they've actually, वो कहते हैं ना सर अपने पैर पे कुल्हाड़ी मारी है. Nobody has ever accused the Pakistanis of being intelligent, just as no one accuses the Chinese of being smart. Sir.
Yeah. Okay, Ankur, if I ask you about the same, I mean, as Ambassador said that it is insane for anybody to think that he can live with a failed country like Pakistan and giving up Indian, where he is, emerging power, one largest power, third largest power in the world. So how do you see that insanity?
Yeah, that would be insane. Of course, a country with democratic institutions and democracy, constitutional democracy is the best place to live in. And a country which has stood the test of being democratic since time immemorial, obviously that should be the first choice. But then in our understanding of the frame with which the Kashmiris behave, we fail to recognize that they connect with Islamic Ummah. And their movement in Kashmir for separatism is a religion-based fascist movement. And that also culminated into the creation of Hurriyat. You have political parties which use constitutional freedom, democratic spaces to enter into our democratic institutions, subvert them from within, and lead a communal agenda. Then you also see so many terrorist organizations. I can tell you that there is a local terrorist organization which yesterday shot someone who is living in Kashmir in the last 50 years. He is a non-Muslim, he is a Hindu, and there have been so many killings these days by the hands of these homegrown terrorist organizations, which include Kashmiris.
Because Ankur, they are being guided and maybe told to target. I mean, from people across the border.
They are being guided, told, and ideologically equipped.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have to have an ideological contestation to that.
Yeah.
And we say that Islamo-Fascism is the ideology which is ruling the roost, incidentally. And government of India is doing nothing but only cover up, saying that no, this is not the case. So therefore, I say that the government of India has to take on this ideological challenge head-on and has to offer an ideological contestation to us.
I'll ask last question to Mir. We are running out of time. Mir, about ideological. The problem of ideology, that some people think that since we are Muslims, we should go with Pakistan. But at the same time, we have seen so many Muslim countries fighting with each other, or Muslims in Pakistan being killed by Muslims only. So what kind of argument is that?
Look, the question you asked, that people here are saying that we want to live with Pakistan. I don't think that people are happy in that thing, because we saw at every point when people came out to stand with the country, India. If we look yesterday, people rejected the idea of the shutdown, and they came and were busy with their day-to-day activities. Some people came and decorated the road that was going towards the venue where a foreign delegation met people. They decorated that road with Tiranga and other decorating items. This clearly shows that the people are rejecting the idea of Pakistan and they are rejecting their propaganda. And it clearly shows that people in Kashmir Valley, I would like to say, are happy with India and wants to live with India.
Right. So people of Kashmir are happy with India and they want to continue living with India, and Pakistani will not.
Of course, Kashmir is an integral part of India. There is no doubt in it.
Right. There is no doubt about it.
No doubt.
Yeah, Ambassador Vora, one line, maybe you can just.
When a young person feels alienated from his homeland, is disappointed at a young age and anticipates an even gloomier future at home, he or she is likely to consider relocating. In the past decades, millions have left Pakistan to live abroad. The overwhelming majority of Pakistani sources are young kids. They do not want to live in Pakistan.
So I think
Game over.
that is what Mir also says, that nobody wants to go to Pakistan. So we will end on that note. Thank you all of you for participating in this debate today.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.